Hi, welcome back to another episode of Geekified. You have got myself, Chris, you have got Nathan, you have got Tony, and today we're talking about the finale and the whole series of The Mandalorian Series 2. This is the way. Right, that's us. We've watched it, we've enjoyed it, so you're probably going to have to geek out listening to especially these two talk about all the Star Wars universe and everything that's happened. I am not, admittedly, from the start, I'll say I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan there is in the world. I don't know a huge deal. I've seen all the movies and I've seen quite a lot of stuff, but it's never something I really get into. Tell me in the comments if you want. I was a bigger fan of Star Trek.
Weirdo. Oh, sorry.
I know. But
I like the new movies. That was it anyway. But I do appreciate it. That's my thing, by the way.
But Mandalorian, I watched it from season 1 and I've just finished season 2, and oh my god, what a show. And then what a finale. But let's not even get into the finale. Let's just start with season 2 in general. So obviously both you guys watched season 1. So quickly give me your summary of what your thoughts are on season 2. Nathan?
It's the greatest show on television right now by a country mile, and I think it's already going to be up there with like classic all-time television shows. It's that good. Especially, I love the way, just don't mess around with stuff. There's no filler in any episode. It's like the story takes this long, that's how long it is. Even if you look at the list of cameos and small parts, and then the directors they got to direct episodes and stuff like that, it's just something everyone wants to be in, which is always a good sign. And Jon Favreau is just a genius.
The god. He's not a genius, he's a god, Nathan. Let's not get that wrong. Don't want the Favreau other gods to strike us down. Tony, season 2, what's your summary? What do you think?
Yeah, I could double repeat and back up what Nathan just said. Season 1 was amazing. We're happy. They got the world. It was just absolutely fantastic. And obviously, they went, you can have whatever you want to do in season 2. And, there was a lot of people have been talking about like the word fan service. And sometimes that can, mess with a film or a TV series. But it was beautifully, beautifully hit. It wasn't thrown in your face like, oh, we're just throwing this in. Every episode, was just perfect. And I can literally talk all day, like it's the perfect tone. And there was even a character, and one of the worst. Okay, there was one episode in season 1 that I didn't like, and I was like, oh, they're obviously saving money to, for another episode to spend on. And people say, oh, Disney have got as much money, but it was something to do with that. They were setting something up. They brought the character back in episode 2. And I'm actually glad, because I was like, oh, he showed how a fantastic actor he was. And, it was just great. It was just, I'm buzzing. Yeah. So happy.
Quite an interesting thing that I do want to talk to you about is obviously the idea of fan service, like you said there, Tony. Fan service is it's almost like a poisonous word to some people, but yet as being fans of geek culture, like obviously we all are, I'm that fan that you're appealing to. So I've never understood why it's such a poisonous word. So
I think it's just there's so many complaints from Star Wars fans about the prequel trilogy and sequel trilogy not paying enough service to fans, not doing enough things for the fans, and then now they're complaining that there's too many nods to. It's just bullshit. This is set 5 years after Return of the Jedi. It's in a universe, and a part of this universe which was it's not the Outer Rim, but it's part of this universe which was integral to that part of the Star Wars lore. The main characters are all linked to main parts in that as well. So why would they not pay service to that universe already anyway? It's just, I don't think it does. I mean, they don't start mentioning the Force until halfway through the second season, okay, which is the main crux of Star Wars. They very rarely mention Jedis. That's only in passing as well. So it's a completely different feel to it. I mean, it's got aspects of Star Wars in it, but it's a completely different show. It's much more adult, much more violent. Yeah, it's just I just don't agree with it. Just people are just looking for nonsense to complain about, and if they come here, I'll punch them in their faces.
Good reply. Very
Rant
good reply,
over.
Tony. What do you feel about so-called fan service?
Yeah, you know, you got the reason why you're making the film, the reason why the reason why you're allowed to do this, the reason why you know these projects get made is because of the fans. Ideally, you know, the fans made it what it is, and these aren't fans like, you know, it's not like I'm a big big fan of football. You know, this is a different type of fandom. It's not obsessive. It's knowledge. True Marvel fans, true Star Wars fans, true Trekkie fans, true whatever you're a fan of, you are an expert. You've got so much knowledge, and of not just the characters, not just of the story, but of the artwork, of the feel of it, of the mood of it, of how it should be. It's so embedded in your blood and soul that a good director or producer should have when they're doing a project. So kind of linking on, the reason why this has been so successful is because Jon Favreau is a fanboy of the series. He knows every aspect, every dot, every T, and this is why he's delivered it perfectly. And so people going, oh, it's fan service. You need more of that. If someone's going to take on something that's so precious and so valuable, get the right person in the role. Get the right, you know, if someone's going to interview for something, you want the right person. You want someone who's passionate, who knows everything about it. You give them the job.
Yeah. I understand. How's it fan service? Because they had characters in it that were in the original
exactly.
films. Because you mention them, that's just nonsense.
Yeah.
It's part of the same world. That's like saying that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is fan service to Iron Man.
Exactly. I still wondered. I was like, I was actually disappointed by sort of a similar channel to us, which is quite big, which I won't name. And I went to see the review, and I was like, you've just mentioned that word, and you are a fan, or you've. I'm like,
people are obviously not as intelligent as us, not nice things to talk about.
Yeah.
I know, like that personally, where I come from, like it says, I'm not a huge fan of Star Wars, but I'm an absolute avid Trekkie when it comes down to it. I love Marvel. I read so many comics, and I like it when they do nods back to stuff. So I think it's probably about time that all these kind of bitter people who don't get it or think this because they don't like a movie or they don't like a TV show for fan service. I think it's about time you put it to bed, because the shows that are given the fan service, like Mandalorian, are amazing. They're good. They're turning out to be some of the most successful TV shows that you'll see. So I think it's about time to probably put it to bed.
In saying that, I would love. I don't know if I have. Sorry, Disney. I've given access Disney Plus to my brother, because my brother introduced me to Star Wars way back. What was the first film? It wasn't Return of the Jedi. I can't remember what film it was, but I remember him giving he put a tape in. My brother had all the Star Wars toys and stuff.
Was it Ewoks Caravan of Love?
What? The Christmas special one that came out. But I would love to see his reaction to it, because he was the original kid who went and seen the films and all that. So I would love to see if he's been able to watch it and see his reaction as well.
Yeah.
I don't understand how people can say it's paying fan services, because it's not front and center to the story. It's a different story. It's about it's not about Jedi. It's about Mandalorians. It's about these things. So it's just people looking for something to complain about because they think that's what people want to read.
Yeah. They can't give a perfect score, so they're like, oh.
Yeah, the media, most media are quite desperate. That's what they usually are. Very, very desperate people. The kind of vultures of today's society is kind of types of critics that you find that write stuff like that, like BuzzFeed for one. These are the guys that just kind of pull stuff and make to sound negativity just so they can people go, oh, they're being negative about a show that's really popular, therefore I'll quickly read it. That's how it works. Anyway,
Other thing I sorry, Chris, just when you're mentioning media, I read a couple of articles today, and they're analysing Mandalorian and Star Wars as if they're magnum opuses, pieces of classic whatever, which they are. But people have got to remember the original Star Wars films were made as children's films. They're a children's story. They're a moral story. So don't hold it up to something like The Godfather or The Deer Hunter, or Citizen Kane. It's not that sort of movie. So don't expect deep intrinsic plots and mad surrealism and stuff like that. There's some aspects of that in it, but that's not the crux. It's about it's a good story with good versus evil. That's it. Stop trying to complicate it.
Yeah, I think.
What more do you want? Jesus Christ! And I'm not a big fan either, so it's fine.
I've got my cat here. I'm just going to stroke it and be like, "Oh, you could have been a Mandalorian. You could have been a Mandalorian." Anyway, speaking of them, let's delve into the characters that we had in season 2. What a rundown of fantastic actors that appeared. Obviously, you've got the fantastic Pedro Pascal. Just seen you in Wonder Woman, absolute star of that. Just what a performance in that. It was fantastic. But obviously, Pedro Pascal is just doing huge now, and I think he's just going to get better. You've got Gina Carano, who turns up again as Cara Dune. You have got Timothy Olyphant, who turns up as Cobb. You have got Ming-Na Wen from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Fennec. It just goes on and on and on. And there's so many voice actors in it as well. What's your feeling?
That was one of the best things. Sorry, that was one of the best things and best surprises that they did. Casting Katie, is it Sackhoff?
Yeah.
Having the voice actor of Bo-Katan. What a phone call she must have had going, want you to actually play it for real, and just fantastic. I was like that. I went, because when I heard her voice, I was like, because I watched Star Wars, I was like, that's Bo-Katan, that's the and I was like, oh my God, they've actually cast, and that's a great blending of worlds and connecting, the different, worlds together, the different films together. It was absolutely fantastic, and that's going to be the crux of season 3, maybe into season 4. What's hopefully going to happen, maybe, and obviously Ahsoka Tano, like that storyline in Rebels and all that, and that as a Jedi, and obviously they couldn't put her in the film, but they brought her to life. What an absolute casting. Is it Rosario Dawson?
Rosario Dawson.
Yeah. Which I might get an official warning here, but obviously me being a musical fan, she's a fantastic Broadway actress as well. So to see her given that, and what a portrayal. What an absolutely. It must have been so nervous for her playing, a fantastic sort of animation character that everyone loved. We're bringing that to life within one episode. Just phenomenal work from her. Phenomenal.
Yeah, she's definitely probably one of the most. Again, I didn't watch a lot or see a lot of this, but I knew who that character was. But even though I didn't see the cartoon, I knew of her. I'd seen so much in lore. I hadn't read anything. I hadn't watched anything. But I knew who that character was. So someone getting to play a character like that, who's already kind of so prominent as a character in the Star Wars world, but it's never been on screen, getting Rosario Dawson to do it and hitting it perfectly. What about yourself, Nathan? How do you feel about the new cast or all the cast?
I think even down to, I always forget the actor's name, the guy who was in the TV show Bosch was the main guy. He was in the season when the Mandalorians take the ship.
Oh my God, I'm going to get it.
You know what I mean? It's got.
He's in Lost as well.
Tulliver.
Titus Welliver.
Him. I was close. Even him being in it, and even in the episode when they go to the base and they dress up like the stormtroopers, and that the Imperial officer that they sit and have a drink with, I recognise that actor as well, but I can't think of his name. And Bill Burr was phenomenal again as that guy. So it's just I think the casting's been pretty much perfect thus far. I don't think there's anyone you'd say, I'd rather have X, Y, or Z as that person. I think it's been pretty perfect. And I think Pedro, we talked about this the other day, Pedro Pascal, I mean, how can somebody do so much and you don't see his face for most of it?
Oh,
Great physical actor. I think that's a true, like when you see someone so subtle and physical and you don't need to see, that's a true test of an actor.
Everyone always said after Spider-Man 3 that they made a huge mistake by not having the Green Goblin's mouth moving. Shows you in this, you don't need that.
You don't. I mean, it's not. You will literally just, apart from maybe 4 or 5 minutes at most of the season 2, you've seen his face. 4 or 5 minutes, so the very, very most.
At the end, in the episode when they're in with the Imperial soldier, isn't it? The only time.
Yeah. So I mean, also, 4 or 5 minutes at the very most.
There's so many hints to things that could happen. So there's that bit where he doesn't let Bill Burr's character go up and put his stuff in because it suggests that in the past he's been an Imperial officer as well.
Yeah.
There's also the bit when I'm terrible with the names in it. The Jedi we're just talking about, Rosario Dawson's character, where she gets the guy to one side and says, "Where's Thrawn?" And Grand Admiral Thrawn's a big character in one of the set of books, so that's obviously something they can touch on in the future. And so having these little things and suggest.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, Nathan, but I thought Kathleen Kennedy says there wasn't anything to draw history of Star Wars.
Yeah, there's no comic books. There's nothing.
There's only like about 4,000 novels and comic books going back 30 years to draw on. So
cool. So she's just ahead of like one of the multi-million pound companies and doesn't know her shit. Cool. Sorry, carry on.
But yeah, I just think that they just hint at all these things, which suggests to me that I don't think, although Disney have announced 4,000 different Star Wars shows, which I think we may end up getting a bit of overkill with it. I think that Mandalorian's not going anywhere. I think it's going to be the main sort of crux of it, and everything's going to come from it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. Really, really good idea.
The Book of Boba Fett looks like it's going to be phenomenal.
I think I heard it's only 6 episodes for that.
Yeah, it's a limited series, 6 episodes, and both that and Mandalorian season 3 are next December. Yeah,
and Obi-Wan's story is going to be 6, kind of similar to Winter Soldier.
Funny that.
It's an extended film, but broke up into 6 episodes. So I think that's what they're doing.
I think basically 2021, we're going to finally get our value from our Disney Plus subscription.
Yeah. And we'll be wishing the coronavirus was in 2021, so we can sit in and watch it all.
We won't be leaving our sofas. The amount of TV and movies that are coming out in 2021.
So telephones are about for, boys.
So you kind of answered a couple of the other questions. I was going to discuss about where we think it's going to go. So you've answered a couple of questions where you think other shows are going to go. I was going to talk about that, but you talked about it. So let's talk about Mandalorian. What's going to happen for season 3?
Different story
altogether, because obviously this probably has to be a spoiler review, because I think I want to discuss it. Obviously, what happens at the end. So that's why I was leaving it kind of roughly to the end of the talk. So obviously, we know what happens in the end with Baby Yoda and Mr. Skywalker himself turning up.
Grogu.
Sorry. Grogu.
Give him his proper name, Chris.
He's not a fucking toy. He's Grogu.
He's a person. He has feelings.
Jesus Christ, man. I feel bad being a Trekkie. I'm getting another Trekkie in the room. Yeah, right. So where do you think it's going to go?
I think what's going to happen? The battle for Mandalore the next season or 2 seasons.
Few seasons. It's all about that.
That's a good shout. So obviously, I don't think I'm going to assume Grogu is finished. I don't think we're going to see him again unless.
I think we will at some point. I think
he'll come back later on, way back later on,
like a grumpy teenager.
There's a lot of fan theories online already about the fact that Luke will, for a better word, fuck him up, and like he did with Ben Solo, and so he'll turn dark as well.
That was my call, Nathan. I think I said that to one of you. I thought the ending was going to be him turning dark, because Eating the babies, the frog lady's babies, and the thing like constantly eating them shows that he doesn't. He's very. I know, but he's a very intelligent being. You know what I mean? He wouldn't do that. Like, surely you would think like it was a certain thing, and then
that's like telling a puppy off for eating a mouse. You know?
Yeah, a mouse, a cat.
I grew up in the country. The dogs ate mice as well. But
yeah.
you know, I think people made them too much of that, making out you some sort of sociopathic being trying to wipe out a race. No, he's just a baby eating something that tasted nice.
Yeah.
No, I see. I didn't see it as far as that. I just thought like he still is kind of. He surely would have an understanding of it.
No,
and
but
I felt
like,
maybe that.
But if we're going to go into that, like it's the whole. I think they were making a little joke about the whole process of like humans. We eat hen eggs, chickens' eggs, and all that, and we've never having a fish bird race in Star Wars. Obviously, they lay eggs, and then they would be food. They would be a delicacy. Just how you get so, you know.
Plus, the mother wasn't that bothered because she kept on leaving the eggs with them.
Yeah.
I just assumed Grogu, like being a 50-year-old, would have had a little bit more.
He's 50, but bear in mind, Yoda was 800 when he died, right? So 50 is like us being 5.
Yeah. Look, he's fine. I've given him some soup. He loves it.
He's not there.
He probably wasn't 50 because what's her name? Rosario Dawson. What's her name? The 2 lightsaber.
Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka Tano with the penis hair.
It's not hair. It's not hair. It's actually a headdress. The warrior. It's not hair.
I was making a joke.
The warriors get given.
It was a joke, Tony.
Sorry. I get geeky.
She mentions him being in the Jedi Temple as a Padawan when Anakin Skywalker kills everybody. Yeah. So it probably puts him about 35-ish. Mm-hmm. So maybe like 3-4-year-old in our sort of years.
Yeah, I think Tony does have to get a slight warning for this. You're definitely getting a geekified warning for being over geekified.
Yeah. No, but back on this, like I think the only, maybe if it's not that, I think we might see a young Ben Solo, because obviously this is Luke going to go away and start that school that we've seen in the last 3 episodes.
I don't think we see Luke again. I don't think we see Luke again.
I don't think we'll see Luke, but I think we'll see. I think they'll cast a young Ben Solo.
I don't think they will, purely because the last 3 films didn't come across particularly well. And you imagine if Jon Favreau is a super fanboy, which he is, he probably didn't particularly like those films. So I don't think he'll bring that into it, because I don't think they're going to jump ahead.
There 10, is a 15 slight years. Link though that they could do though. So there was, so we both, Nathan and me, agree that will be maybe the war for, who's going to take over, to run the planet of Mandalore. Now, there was a civil war way back in Mandalore, and there was a group called the Death Watch. Mm-hmm. And they were so they kind of went bad. But what the Death Watch did was they approached Count Dooku. Mm-hmm. So they actually attached to the Sith. Yep. So it was kind of bad Mandalorians against good Mandalorians, because they were like, look, we can't keep being barbarians and all that. We need to be a little bit more civilized. It's much better for the planet. But then there was a core group of them going, no, we need to stick to our roots, who we are. We need to go and colonize, planets and stuff. So that's when the Civil War happened. So that was the kind of roundabout episode 3 into episode 4, which is kind of where we are. And Bo-Katan, I think she's going to recreate the Death Watch.
They talk about this, don't they, in episode in the 2nd season, where he's one of the Mandalorians who always wears the mask, and she's not. Yeah. So they're already from different creeds, as it were.
Different creeds, and they're like,
he's a purist or something, she said.
I don't remember the name now, but yeah.
So I think she's going to get really, really bad, and they'll be like, they'll find a Sith. And this is where I think the young Ben Solo is going to come in.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Mando becomes the evil one. I think in the Mandalorian, good and evil is not as obvious as you think it was.
Yeah.
I was reading quite an interesting thing about. They're talking about how one of the great things of the Mandalorian is they've expanded like the story of the smaller characters and things. So like even in this episode, the last episode, when the ship at the start and they got the two pilots, and the guy starts talking about how he was on the Death Star and stuff like that, and about how he views everybody as them all as terrorists and whatnot. So I think it's quite interesting because it's like, were they terrorists? Were they freedom fighters, or were they just the other side of the coin, as it were? So it's quite interesting. I think that I was surprised because the first sort of 4 or 5 episodes of the first season, you're not really sure if he's a good guy or the bad guy, you know. And he starts off as definitely a bad guy because he's a bounty hunter and he's willing to kidnap a child, you know. So I think it's I think
this comes to one of my theories, though.
Sorry.
This comes to one of my major theories.
Give us it. Go for it.
Simon Pegg.
Time.
Simon Pegg.
Mando is force sensitive.
Oh yeah, I think that's quite obvious.
Yeah, he is force sensitive. That's why he didn't, this is why he protected the child. And then, spoiler, that last line that Luke gave, when he said about, training, power out training is nothing. I don't think he was talking about Grogu. He was talking about Mando. Saying he was force sensitive. I
think he was talking about himself. Because he didn't, although he didn't get that much training, really. He got a little bit from Yoda, and then Yoda died. A little bit from Ben Kenobi, he died before that. So I think he was probably talking about because obviously one of the reasons that he ends up out in the Outer Rim in the most current trilogy was because he was scared of his power. Basically, he didn't want to unleash the power on anybody because he could see that he was conflicted. The same as Anakin Skywalker was. They were conflicted with whether they were from the light side or the dark side, and the whole sort of idea of the Force is that there's like you see in the third trilogy, is that Rey is supposed to be this perfectly balanced being. So the good side and the bad side perfectly in balance. The good side and the dark side and the light side perfectly in balance. And I think that there's definitely. I think the reason Grogu has that link with Mando is because there's like Force link, as it were, and it's the reason that Mando can always find them. A bit like Leia and Luke, they have that link as well. Yeah,
I think they are like connected, bonded.
I've got a question. So see if you've got the Force of the good side and the bad side, so the dark and the light, and it is perfectly balanced, like you're saying that Rey was. Does that
thing?
Yeah.
So find out in episode 9.
Yeah. So if you are one of these people and your good side is perfectly balanced with your dark side, and it like Rey, does that make you as boring as watching paint dry?
Only if you're Daisy Ridley, apparently.
Yeah. Then I go, I don't know, we could. Yeah, so go back to that. I think, so the next 2 episodes is going to, they'll do the same. They'll build up to the end of season 4. It's going to be Bo-Katan against Mando with that dark saber. And Mando's about to get killed, and then he'll be reaching for the black saber, and the black saber will fly to him using the Jedi power, and he'll kill him. And he'll chop Bo-Katan's head off. I've said it here 2 years before it happens.
I think the really interesting thing for me, I think that they were really clever with the sort of the costume choice for Moff Gideon, because they make him look a bit Darth Vader-like, and they give him a lightsaber. So you think he's like some sort of like Sith Lord or something like that, but he's not. He's just a guy that won a lightsaber in a battle. And they make him look like that, and it's just a way of throwing you off the story. I think which is utter storytelling genius.
Yeah.
He was probably the biggest red herring that was in the show.
He was just a bad bastard who was not even that good with lightsaber,
Yep. Just a villain, just a absolute bog standard villain. It was a very, very. I forgot I was going to bring that up as well. Actually, it's very, very well done. But having someone like Giancarlo Esposito play him, the gravitas you get out of someone who's actually not that important, obviously that's works. So that's even, again, perfect casting for the show again.
I don't think we've seen the last of the Dark Troopers either.
Oh, they were great. Yeah. I loved the music when they turned up. It was brilliant as well.
Yeah. It was good, but the only thing that reminded me of was Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
And I was
Like
at
a
that.
suits
Like,
flying about.
I was at that. I was like,
It was like
I-
Daft Punk did the music when they turned up. It was brilliant.
No, I thought it was John Favreau's way of sort of pointing a finger at how badly George Lucas did in Phantom Menace with the clones when they arrived, when the robots when they arrived in the battle. You know what I mean? So it looked very like it. They lined up in lines, they dropped out, and you know all that. And it's sort of John Favreau going, "No, actually, this is how you do it."
Yeah, and it was
and
intimidating.
there was an element of like Terminator to them as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the bit when they're banging his head through that wall.
Oh, that was a great shot.
I was just like, my God.
Right, Rubo.
Even there's a bit where when Mando's fighting his way through to get to that bit, and he's got his Beskar pole, and you know that bit when he's got the guy, and he basically, you hear him breaking the guy's neck. And I was just like, this is Star Wars, for fuck's sakes. And I loved it. I was like, this is fucking Star Wars. And he's just heard him creak the guy's neck.
That's like crunched the guy's neck, yeah. So that leads me to your last question about the series so far. You've kind of gave me a hint as to what one of the answers is going to be. What was your favourite scene from season 2?
Come on.
I know, I've got it. I know. There's lots of great scenes. My favourite scene is when they're travelling into the that Imperial base, Mando and Bill Burr, Mayfield on that truck, and those pirates are trying to attack them. That scene is phenomenal. I was giggling like a little girl the whole way through watching that. It was just, and then, you know, I thought that's the bit, and I thought, you know what, Mando is going to use some sort of force power to stop them. Then obviously, Slave One comes down and shoots them. I was just like, that's it. And the other bit just after that, when Slave One flies up and he fires out that weird torpedo.
That was
the 2.5. I was like, fuck, where did that come from?
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point, because for the first time in me watching Star Wars films and TV shows, you actually, for the first time, you looked at the stormtroopers and went, that's their job. That's what they, you know, they're getting paid for. You know, they're not initially bad people, and you actually felt for them in that section when they were like clapping for them and well done. You're like, oh my God, like it is literally the flip coin. They think they've been brought up that's good, and you know they're getting paid. They've got to put food on the table. That's their job. They're in the army, basically.
George Lucas, when he first conceived Star Wars, it was based on the Second World War. You know, the dark side were the Nazis, and Darth Vader and the Emperor were Hitler, obviously, and then the other side were, you know, the Allies. And when he first showed footage to the studios, because he hadn't filmed any of the dogfight scenes yet, he actually used World War II footage of dogfighting in those bits to show what was going to happen.
Oh yeah, because he used, I heard, because
I get a geek point for that as well.
Yeah, because I loved it. If you watched it, because he was so upset about sort of the models that were in the CGI. I was like, no, you've got it wrong. And he put a clip. I think he used some footage of the Dam Busters together to go, look, I need this. This is what I want. And they went, okay.
So, what's your favorite scene, Tony?
So it's the last, you know, when Luke turns up for a lot of reasons, and we haven't really mentioned it yet, but the soundtrack, the score, the music was incredible.
They changed, didn't they? They changed it from the Mandalorian music to Star Wars music.
There was a lot. It's a young Swedish composer called Ludwig Göransson. He did the music for Black Panther, this, and there's another one. Can't remember. By the way, he's done a lot for Disney recently. But he's a bit of a young guy. I say young. He's the same age as me.
He's young, man. He's very young.
He's still young. He's still young.
He's a baby. For me, my favorite scene was where they take back the village. I think it was episode 6 or 7. They take back the village where he gets the Beskar pole off of, I can't remember her name now, the woman who runs the village. But it was Mando outside while the two were fighting with the other guy. It was the whole thematic thing of what I've seen from Mandalorian is a Western kind of style, that cowboy shootout was like watching an old Western. It was brilliant.
Go back and watch Rawhide from the 50s, and it's basically this is basically Rawhide in space.
The tension that Favreau managed to garner, like with the kind of gun in the holster.
Before Chris, the bit in that when they're doing the duel with him and the Michael Bean's character, and it's even to the point where there's a guy who's on the roof and he shuts the windows like they did in the Western films.
Yeah, it's genius, absolute genius. But for me, that was my favorite scene because it was one of the ones that kind of showed the kind of thematic of the whole both seasons, that kind of Western idea.
Like obviously the last scene, but I think out of the whole episode, the whole standout thing, and was Rosanna Dawson as Ahsoka Tano. Like she has been a star, you know, before. She's been a very successful actress in the Broadway and TV and film, but now she's been catapulted, and you know, into proper stardom now, and fantastic portrayal, you know.
Yeah, oh, definitely. It's been enjoyable. And sadly,
sorry, one sort of little thing I want to mention. You know how the Star Wars films are like part 4, part 5, part 6. This is all I quite very interesting that although each episode has a name, this time they've called them chapters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the second season starts at 9, it's up to 16. I don't know why. I just find that very cool.
Yeah, something about that when TV shows do that. Kind of makes it feel a bit more gritty and a wee bit more real.
I think it fits in with how it's a very episodic show. There's an overlying arc, but each episode is its own story, and that really helps to define that.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it that way.
Yeah, it's been a great run. I've absolutely loved it, and sadly, obviously, we need to wait another probably about a year and a half, maybe.
December
for the next one. Is it December? We're definitely
2021, and then Boba Fett. I think they've already sort of announced it's going to be Christmas Day in 2021. That'll be released, I think.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think there's only going to be maybe another 2 or 3 seasons of this. So I don't think they can take it on any longer.
I think it depends how long Jon Favreau can probably do it as long as he wants to.
Yeah.
It's just chained Favreau to the set for Star Wars.
They have announced a sort of Darth Vader type thing as well, and they're going to bring Hayden Christensen back. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I've seen he was cast. Yeah, officially coming back. So that's great. That's great, and interesting to see where they're going to go with that. It wasn't liked much as that role. Yeah, McGregor. He's back as well. We've got a lot to come before we see season 3 of Mandalorian, so we've got absolutely loads. But we are going to do a Star Wars episode relatively soon, where we probably will sit and talk for maybe 6 or 7 days about Star Wars with this lot. So it's going to do a summary of absolutely everything we've seen, the TV, the world, the universe, all the films, and obviously The Mandalorian as well. So we've got that to look forward to coming up probably in the next couple of weeks. But thank you very much for joining us. It's been a really, really good chat about Mandalorian. I hope you guys at home enjoyed it. And hit us up in the comments. What was your favourite episode? What was your favourite moment? What was your favourite cast? And what did you think about today's chat? Just drop us a like, subscribe if you've not subscribed. Please just takes a wee second, subscribe, and a comment below. But thank you very much. Thank you, Nathan.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much, Tony. And thank you from me. We can do this all day.